sê my nou van die boek?
Wat van die boek?
Hoekom draai jy die boek?
Nie so 'n paar dinge wat dit ingeskryf het in dit
Wat het jy geskryf?
voor my.
Wil jy vir my wys of nie?
Kinders. Is maar net dinge ook opgegooi het en waarvan ek kan onthou hoe ek so geword het. Hoe ek so is. 'n man gebore en 'n vrou. Nie net dink soos 'n vrou iets doen alles is 'n vrou so. Ek is 4 jaar oud skapen of so wat. My vraag is net, wat weet 'n 4-jarige persoon? Wat is 'n man, wat is 'n vrou? So, dit is goed dat ek nie sukkel dat ek kom. Hoekom ek nog die diskriminering kry? Is het ek en wil nie so wees nie. Ek het ook al feit dat die maar kandidaat in feit. Het is niet makkelijk om nog tot vandaag toe die woorden te brengen.
My name is Thando Mbande. I'm a trans woman. I work for She as a program coordinator. Here in the Eastern Cape, we are a very rural province. So firstly, we kind of know that culture is a problem. It's very patriarchal, it's very traditional. Most of the districts here in the Eastern Cape are led by traditional leaders. The other challenge that we face as the community is access to gender-affirming healthcare. There's none whatsoever that is available. As She, we were able to negotiate with partners, especially with the Department of Health. So now we do have hope. We do have a clinic in East London. So people from the Eastern Cape, is either you're coming from Wartambo, which is Umtata areas, Queenstown, Port Elizabeth, they come to East London to access those services. Number two, it's violence. We still have a lot of violence, physical violence, hate crimes, sexual violence against queer people.
The most hardest thing transitioning in the space that you are in, everybody tend to remind you of what you were assigned at birth, because people still do not have the correct terminology. They would actually out you in unsafe spaces of saying, I know this one. This one was a man at some point of time, which actually makes one not safe. I am a rape survivor. I don't even want to put it like that, because at some point of times I still feel like I'm more of a victim, because people read online that I had surgery and they wanted to test it, but at that time I didn't even have a vaginoplasty. I have been violated and I didn't have a space to go and actually get assisted. I was young, but if there was access to a person to provide support, maybe my perpetrators would be in prison. To try and make it not sad in a way, in 2013 I was lucky to go and have my vaginoplasty, whereby after having a vaginoplasty I then decided to just say I'll not have sex. Let me be on my own terms of saying how I lose my virginity because of how and what I experienced before. So in a way it's hard for me because it's something that I wanted to affirm myself with, but now it's kind of a shield of saying, can I be in control now? I'm so sorry. Oh God. The main challenge in the community, it became a norm of saying we do not understand, so we can just act anyhow. So that has been what we are fighting for as trans folk within the community, because many people do not have the language, they don't have the understanding. People, they are not against mainly around queer persons unless you call them in a public setting. and there's everybody else, they don't want to listen. But when they are in their households and you're coming in, they will ask you. Even the most homophobic person you'll find in a public setting, when everybody's speaking, they will want to listen, they will want to learn more. People tend to act homophobic so that they, or transphobic, so that they can hide that they do care, they do love, and they do support in a way. So yes, there are people who are really, really homophobic in our streets, but mainly the most biggest challenge is that awareness of saying, can you be educated and understand? But when you come in with the Western terminology of saying you are trans and gender diverse, this becomes a way of saying this is wrong.
I'm Lavenda Ushe, transgender woman from Zimbabwe. I flee from a country to seek safety and protection from this country, South Africa, since it's my neighboring country, because my life was in danger. Like, it was a matter of life and death. My family, because of my gender identity as a transgender woman, I was really struggle. Every struggle, my family, they said I'm the cause. Like the time I reached to the extent of fleeing from Zimbabwe to South Africa, it was a time of cyclone he died. But they said, I'm the one who caused this because God don't want this. It's against the Bible. It's a demon. And they always treat me as an outcast. Yo, the Homa face is something else. I don't want to play with people. Every month I went there. I remember October, I went twice, but they never do anything from there. What they did is just laugh at me because of my gender identity. They started to laugh at me because of my sexual orientation. Why you guys, you guys from other countries choose to come to South Africa? We have more than enough gays. We did not come here to perform this homosexual thing. One, it is in us. Two, we came here for this, to seek safety and protection.
My name is Phoenix. I am from Kimberley, Northern Cape. I am a heterosexual transgender female. I live in Halishiwe, Kimberley, and here my biggest challenge is being misunderstood a lot by the community, whether it's in religious groups, whether it's socially, by my own family. Another challenge that I would say is major is access to gender affirming healthcare. We need to travel all the way to the Free State to get services like hormone replacement therapy, psychiatric evaluations, and things like that. When I started this journey, I was unemployed. So I did research about how the public hospital can assist. They let me know that there's a patient transport that transports people from the hospital to the university's hospital where the hormone replacement therapy is accessible. So at that time, it was very difficult for me. I had to make means to get taxi money. And by 5, they would expect me to be at the hospital already. So that timing also makes it dangerous because walking from my house to the taxi stop to get a taxi that will take me to town where the hospital is, it's not safe. It's dark that time of the morning. It would be probably a 2-hour drive or 3. But the challenge is when you are at the hospital now there in the Free State, the food is expensive inside the hospital. If you are not working, you probably have to sit there from 8 to 5 p.m. without food. There is a risk also when you get to the counter, they'll tell you that the medication is out of stock. So you can't wait until they get their stock. They'll down refer you to the facility in Kimberley. So if the facility in Kimberley also does not have, you have to wait again. It takes an emotional toll on you, especially if you can't finance yourself to access this medication.
Ek is Nia, 'n trotse boerling van Darling. Ek identifiseer as 'n trans vrou. Diskriminasie, stigma, marginalization is 'n baie groot ding en violence is 'n groot ding in ons klein dorpies. Ons kry stigma en diskriminasie in die strate. Ons kry stigma en diskriminasie in die kerke. Ons kry stigma en diskriminasie op government perseel, byvoorbeeld polisies, hospitale, klinieke. Op rural base is rou, is 'n seer want dit kom van familie af, dit kom van vriende af, dit kom van mense wat dink dis jou support systems. Ek het altyd gedink dis poverty wat 'n mens breek, maar is eintlik nie die poverty nie, dis support. In die Darling Pride Angels gemeenskap is daar baie drop-outs van transgender diverse persons in skole. En hulle verlaat skool by ouderdom van 15, 16, 17. En hulle wil hierdie organisasie kom join, maar as gevolg van hoe dan even 'n child protection policy. Dit maak dit vir ons so moeilik hè, dat ons moet gaan konsent vra by 'n ouer en wie sê 'n ouer het aanvaarding gekry oor wie wat hy is. En vir baie ouers, ek gerig na ouers toe en dan het vir hulle gelyk dat ons is besig met recruiting. En dan wil hulle vir ons gaan aankla by polisiestasies en klagte gaan neem van ons recruit hulle kinders. Ons gee hulle kinders 'n identiteit of 'n label en dit is wat ons doen nie. En is so moeilik om die drop-outs te encourage en te help. In 'n store, eerlik gesproke, even social workers het daai norm van ek doen my werk met geloofbuis agter my. En dit is so moeilik vir 'n transgender person om heeltyd te fight met iemand wat geloofbuis glo.
Ek is Shanaaz Kibedu. Ek is woonagtig in Little West en I am Shia. As 'n trans woman in Little is dit nie maklik vir my nie want mense is nog baie oningelig in trans women en diskriminasie is baie daar in ons plek. Mense weet nie hoe om jou aan te spreek en die respek is nie veilig om maar te woon nie. Ja, it access to nothing. Dit is nie veilig nie want jy word in baie gevalle word jy daar is nie beskerming nie want jy word gesien as 'n man en ja, jy word gebruik. So, daar zijn baie gevalle waar daar mens gender soos ons word fisies gebruik. Lyk in verkrag. Daar was 'n geval van my ook, maar ek het dit nooit ten vore gebring nie. Ek wou dit vir myself hou, maar ek kan nie meer nie. Ek wil hier ook praat want hoekom stil bly daar is in elk geval dink ek daar is vele ander gevalle ook waar mense stil bly. Niemand het nog voor een dag gekom om het uit te brengen, oor te praten. Maar soos in my geval, ek kon nooit daaroor praten, nie as ek dit vriende wou nie. Maar dan sien ek vandag wat gebeur, en werkelijk wat gebeur en iewers met dit weer stemmelig staan.
My name is Melody Almasahiri. I am the Community Engagement Manager at Gender Dynamics. So this year, our constitution in South Africa is 30 years old. Trans and gender diverse persons are still very far from achieving or realizing their rights within this constitution, more particularly in terms of self-determination and bodily autonomy, where trans and gender diverse persons are not allowed the opportunity to self-identify or to realize their rights as trans and gender diverse persons within the South African context. So through the Naditemba project, we document human rights violations. And in 2024, we documented 453 cases of human rights violations. And our annual report containing these human rights violations basically speak about challenges in terms of family rejection, discrimination by police officials, service centers that would reject trans people for the mere fact of being trans. I think it speaks to a more kind of the global move towards trans exclusion, and especially with the bid for USAID funding cut that took place in 2025, trans and gender diverse persons were left without any access to gender family healthcare or any sexual and reproductive healthcare services at a community level. Therefore, the need or the greater need for the Naditemba project. I'm thinking back to the rural transgender person that doesn't have access. So they are not allowed to express themselves. They don't have access to gender family healthcare or legal gender recognition. So they are basically left on the margins, like there's no way of affirming themselves. And if they do dare to affirm themselves socially, like dressing up and wearing makeup, they are always frowned upon and also met with such violence. I really think that society's mindset on transness and trans issues is politicized too much, and it really creates a hostile environment. It's quite difficult for us as a community at this moment to be visible or to be safe.
I think we all know mostly what we were focusing on as for trans and queer people. It was around HIV and accessing to services and healthcare and all of that, the trans rights. I think we have covered that. I think now what we need to do is that we need to have capacity building for the trans community across the country, whereby we're not only focusing on healthcare and HIV, we are more than that, right? What we need is to capacitate ourselves, whereby we can, because what we need to know is that a lot of trans people are displaced. They are pushed out by the system. It's not like that they do not want to, it's because they are pushed out by the system. So what we need to do is to capacitate them so that they can be able to find employment, to find jobs, or able maybe they start their own businesses.
We are keen of saying let us be visible to ensure that there is awareness, because so many people didn't know about trans and gender diverse persons because they were never visible in their own spaces. That's why we are visible in Umlazi. It's because we want to ensure that people are educated.
There's no way I can go back to put my life in danger. Like I flee in the matter of life and death. I can't throw myself in the lion's den. I can't. I can risk myself going forward, not going back.
I understand what it's like to be uncomfortable in your body, being self-conscious all the time, having doubts about your existence. They can hinder you in having destructive thoughts and giving up on yourself. So when I started this journey, it really gave me a second chance to rewrite my story. It gave me the courage to actually fight for who I discovered I am.
Ons mense is baie selektief oor die Bybel. Ons sal versies uithaal om klippe te gooi. Dit is die tipe van dinge wat government officials, stakeholders gebruik. Hulle sien nie die human factor nie. Vir hulle gaan dit oor kleur, ras, geloof. Op die einde van die dag is ons almal net mens en die foundation is human.
Ek wil regtig graag transition sodat mense my kan aanvaar as 'n vrou, want dit is wat hulle wil sien, en dat daar borge sal wees vir ons trans vrouens sodat daar respek kan wees van die gemeenskap. Daar moet meer gepraat word oor trans mense, oor trans people. Veral mans, straight mans. Hulle is oningelig oor ons gender, oor trans people. So mense moet hulle inlig oor trans people, sodat hulle gemakkelijk kan wees saam met straight mans. Trans mense gemakkelijk kan wees saam met straight mans. Want dis especially is hulle, spesifiek is hulle, wat nog discrimineer en ek dink toe.